The radar screen explodes with contacts. 10 boats, then 30, then more than 100. They are racing out of the darkness at nearly 50 knots, spreading across the Persian Gulf like a swarm of predators, closing in on 3 American destroyers. On the bridge, every conversation stops. Weapons unlock, missile systems rotate, young sailors grip machine guns with sweating hands and stare into the black water waiting for the first flash of rockets. These are not fishing boats. These are armed. Iranian fast attack craft approaching in attack formation. The 3 destroyers carry enough firepower to erase every hostile vessel in seconds. One order, one word fire. But the command never comes. Instead, the captains do something almost unthinkable. They wait. As the enemy closes to lethal range, the most powerful navy on Earth holds its fire. Hundreds of American lives hang in the balance. The Middle East stands on the edge of war, and the most dangerous decision has already been made. Survive. The attack. Do not start. World War III midnight settles over the Persian Gulf like a sheet of black steel. The sea is calm. The air is heavy. Above there is no moon. Only scattered stars reflected in the dark water. 3 U.S. Navy destroyers move in. Silent formation through one of the most dangerous waterways on Earth. Their gray hulls cut through the Gulf with mechanical precision, each ship carrying hundreds of sailors and enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. For most of the crew, this is another long night on patrol. Radar operators scan glowing screens. Lookouts stare into the darkness. Engine rooms hum deep below the waterline. Everything appears normal. Then a radar technician leans closer to his display. A cluster of small contacts has appeared near the Iranian coastline. At first it looks like electronic interference that happens sometimes in the Gulf, but the contacts do not disappear. They multiply. 10, 20, 40. Within seconds, more than 100 fast-moving vessels are racing toward the American ships. The operator's voice cuts through the combat information center. Multiple contacts inbound. High speed. The room goes silent. Officers rush to their consoles. Distances begin shrinking on the tactical display. The symbols are closing too quickly to be accidental. On the bridge, the captain studies the screen in complete silence. No one needs to explain what this means. These are not fishing boats. These are Iranian fast attack boats, small, heavily armed, and capable of carrying rockets, machine guns, and explosives. Alarm tones echo through the destroyers. General quarters. General quarters. All hands man your battle stations. Across all 3 ships, sailors sprint through narrow steel passageways. Missile. Hatches unlock, machine guns rotate toward the horizon. Medical teams prepare for casualties. Firefighting equipment is staged near damage control stations. Young sailors take their positions, hearts pounding, eyes fixed on the black water. They know the destroyers can wipe out the approaching swarm in seconds, but they also know something far more unsettling. No order to fire has been given. The Iranian boats continue to close. Threatening voices crackle over the radio. Distances fall, tension tightens. And in the darkness of the Persian Gulf, 3 American destroyers prepare for a battle that may begin at any second. The Persian Gulf is not an open ocean. It is a narrow, confined battlefield where geography itself becomes a weapon. At its most critical point lies the Strait of Hormuz, a thin corridor of water connecting the Gulf to the wider world. Every day, massive oil tankers pass through this choke point, carrying a significant share of the world's energy supply to the global economy. It is an artery. To military planners, it is a trap. The channel is narrow enough that every ship passing through can be tracked from shore. Mountain ridges along the Iranian coastline conceal missile batteries, radar stations, watch every movement. Drones circle overhead, small coves hide attack boats waiting for orders. This is where Iran has spent decades preparing to fight, not with aircraft carriers or large warships, but with asymmetric tactics designed to exploit every weakness of a stronger enemy. Fast boats, armed with rockets, sea mines anchored beneath shipping lanes, anti-ship missiles hidden in tunnels, unmanned aircraft feeding targeting data to commanders on shore. In open water, a U.S. destroyer is among the most powerful. Warships ever built inside the Gulf, its size becomes a liability. There is little room to maneuver. Threats can emerge from every direction, and there is almost no margin for error. American commanders understand the stakes. One missile strike could kill hundreds. One mine could cripple a destroyer. One premature American shot could ignite a regional war. Oil prices would surge. Commercial shipping could stop Allied bases across the Middle East, might come under missile attack. Within hours, a local confrontation could become an international crisis. That is why the three destroyers are more than warships. They are tripwires, steel symbols of American power operating in waters where a single mistake could change the world. As the Iranian swarm closes in, the crews are not simply defending their ships. They are standing at the center of one of the most dangerous choke points on Earth, and their mission is brutally simple. Survive the encounter without starting a war. Thousands of miles away deep inside the Pentagon, large screens glow in secure briefing rooms. Satellite images cover the walls. Naval positions update in real time. Intelligence officers speak in measured voices, but the message is urgent. Iran is not trying to win a conventional battle. It is trying to provoke one. Inside the White House Situation Room, senior officials gather around a polished conference table. Military commanders, intelligence analysts, and national security advisors confront a decision that could reshape the Middle East. If the destroyers open fire first, the United States may destroy dozens of Iranian boats in minutes, but the political consequences could be immediate. Tehran would claim it was attacked. Missiles could be launched at American bases. Proxy militias across the region could strike. Oil shipments through the Gulf might halt. A localized incident could become a full-scale regional war. The president asks the most difficult question in crisis management. What if they are trying to make us shoot first? The room falls silent. That possibility changes everything. The final order is sent to the three destroyers. Maintain course, issue warnings. Defend yourselves only if a clear attack begins. Until then, hold fire. The message reaches the captains in the Gulf. They read it once, then read it again. They understand exactly what it means. They may soon watch hostile boats approach to point-blank range while their crews beg for permission to shoot. But their mission is not simply to protect their ships, it is to prevent a war. The captains acknowledge the order. Across the dark waters of the Persian Gulf, hundreds of sailors prepare to trust a strategy built on restraint. If the intelligence is correct, discipline will avert disaster. If it is wrong, those same sailors may pay for that decision with their lives. Back aboard the destroyers, the tension becomes something the sailors can feel in their bones. The decks vibrate beneath their boots. Ventilation systems hum through the steel passageways. Red combat lighting washes over faces that are suddenly pale and silent. In the Combat Information Center, radar operators call out distances in clipped, steady voices. 8 nautical miles, 6 miles, 5 miles, and closing. Each number lands like a countdown. The Iranian boats begin to spread into coordinated attack positions. Some charge directly toward the bows of the destroyers. Others race along the flanks, searching for blind spots and testing the ships. Reactions. Searchlights flicker across the black water. Silhouettes appear and disappear in the darkness. On the weather decks, sailors man heavy machine guns, gripping cold metal with trembling hands. Many are barely in their 20s, some have trained for years for a moment like this. None know whether they will survive the next 10 minutes. Below deck, corpsmen prepare emergency supplies. Stretchers are unfolded. Bandages are laid out. Damage control teams position, firefighting hoses and breathing. Gear near vulnerable compartments. Everyone is waiting for the same thing. The first explosion. Over the radio, the tone grows more aggressive. Broken English warnings, threats, taunts. The Iranian crews know exactly what they are doing. They are pushing closer, daring the Americans to react. One nervous trigger pull could unleash a battle that engulfs the entire region. One hesitation could allow an explosive-filled boat to strike the hull. The sailors understand the impossible balance they are armed with overwhelming force, yet they are ordered to remain still. Eyes fixed on the horizon, fingers hovering near triggers. They stand in the darkness and wait for impact, for orders, for history, to decide whether this night ends in silence or fire. What unfolds in the Persian Gulf is more than a naval standoff. It is a battle of nerves, a contest fought not with missiles but with discipline, surveillance, and psychological pressure. Every movement is being watched. Iranian drones circle high, above the destroyers, transmitting live video to command centers along the coast. Coastal radar tracks the position of every American ship. Radio operators record each warning, each response, each moment of hesitation. The world cannot see it, but an invisible war is already underway. Inside secure intelligence facilities, analysts from the Central Intelligence Agency and the National Security Agency listen to intercepted communications. Encrypted transmissions move between Iranian commanders, missile batteries, and boat crews. The language is tense. Orders are short. No one outside those rooms knows whether this is a bluff or the opening stage of a coordinated attack. Satellite imagery is compared with real-time naval reports. Known missile sites are monitored for launch activity. Regional bases are placed on heightened alert. Fighter aircraft wait on distant runways. Refueling tankers stand by. The destroyers at sea are only the visible edge of a much larger operation. In reality, they have become bait. If the United States fires too soon, Iran wins a political victory. If America hesitates too long, the cost could be measured in lives. That is the true battlefield, not the water between the ships, but the narrow space between fear and control. In the Persian Gulf, the most powerful weapon is not a missile, it is patience. The Iranian boats are now close enough to see with the naked eye. Under the glare of searchlights, their hulls slash through the black water, throwing white spray into the night. Men stand exposed behind mounted weapons. Some raise binoculars, others keep their hands on rocket launchers and heavy machine guns. The distance continues to collapse. 2 nautical miles, 1 mile, then less. At this range, even a small boat packed with explosives could tear open the side of a destroyer. On the American ships, every weapon is ready. Machine gun gunners settle their sights. Missile systems lock onto designated targets. Combat officers repeat firing procedures one final time. The order can be given in an instant. Over the radio, the captains issue final warnings. This is a United States warship. Alter your course immediately. There is no reply. In the White House Situation Room, officials watch the crisis unfold second by second. Across the world, oil traders, intelligence analysts, and military commanders understand that the next decision could send shockwaves through the global economy. Then one Iranian boat breaks formation. Its engines roar. It accelerates directly toward the lead destroyer. The closing speed is terrifying. On-deck sailors brace for impact. Inside the Combat Information Center, voices sharpen target inbound range, decreasing maintaining course. Weapons track the boat. Fingers tighten on triggers. Every eye turns to the captain. One word will unleash overwhelming force. Fire. But before the order is spoken, the boat veers sharply away. Its wake cuts across the bow, one by one. The remaining vessels turn with it. The swarm begins to peel back into the darkness. No rockets are launched. No guns fire, no ship is hit. For several long seconds, no one aboard the destroyers moves. Then the truth becomes clear. The world has come to the edge of war and stepped back. In the silent waters of the Persian Gulf, restraint has prevailed. When the last Iranian boats disappear into the darkness, tension does not vanish immediately. For several minutes, the crews remain at battle stations, watching radar screens and scanning the horizon for any sign that the threat might return. No one speaks above a whisper. Adrenaline still surges through every compartment. Then the deeper meaning of the confrontation begins to emerge. This was never just about 3 destroyers. Iran did not need to sink an American warship to achieve its objective. It needed to answer a more important question. How? Disciplined is the United States under pressure. Would American commanders fire at the first sign of danger? Would Washington overreact and hand Tehran a political victory? Or could the world's most powerful navy absorb intimidation without losing control? That was the real test. And on this night, the answer was unmistakable. The United States held its fire by refusing to shoot. First, the destroyers denied Iran the crisis it may have been seeking. Tehran demonstrated that it could threaten major warships in its own waters, but it failed to provoke the response that could have justified a wider conflict. Military analysts would later describe the encounter as a contest of nerves rather than firepower. The destroyers did not prevail. By sinking enemy boats, they prevailed by mastering fear. Sometimes the greatest show of strength is not pulling the trigger, it is knowing exactly when not to. When the immediate danger passes, there is no cheering on the decks, no celebration. No dramatic announcement over the ship's loudspeakers. The sailors simply remain at their stations, breathing hard eyes still fixed on the dark horizon where the Iranian boats vanished. Slowly, the adrenaline begins to fade. Hands that felt steady moments earlier start to tremble. Some sailors realize only then how close they believed they were to dying. Orders are given to secure from general quarters. Weapons are made safe. Medical teams pack away unused stretchers and trauma kits. Damage. Control crews return hoses and breathing gear to their lockers. The ships resume their patrol as if nothing extraordinary has happened. But for the men and women aboard, everything feels different. Young sailors who had never faced combat have stared directly into the possibility of war. They trusted their training, they trusted their captains, and most of all, they trusted each other. In the narrow passageways below deck, brief glances replace words. No explanation is needed. Every person on board understands what they endured. Their victory will never be marked by burning wreckage or dramatic headlines. No medals are pinned in that moment. No cameras record their fear. Yet their discipline may have prevented a conflict that could have engulfed. The Middle East, they were prepared to fight, prepared to die. But on this night, their greatest act of courage was restraint. They held the line, and they never fired a shot. Dawn rises slowly over the Persian Gulf. The black water turns into deep shades of blue and gold, as if the ocean itself is forgetting what happened during the night. The 3 American destroyers continue their patrol as if nothing unusual occurred. But inside every compartment, the memory of the encounter lingers. Radar screens are calm now. No fast-moving contacts, no swarm of boats, no immediate threat. Only silence. Far away, commercial ships resume their routes through the Strait of Hormuz, carrying oil and cargo that the entire world depends on. Most of them have no idea how close they came to a regional shutdown, or worse. There are no wrecked vessels drifting in the water, no smoke on the horizon, no sign that the night nearly turned into a naval battle. But the absence of destruction does not mean nothing happened. Something far more important occurred in that darkness. A line was approached and then not crossed. No missiles were launched, no ships were sunk, no war began. In military history, the most dangerous moments are not always the ones that end in explosions. They are the ones where everything could have changed and did not. The encounter reveals a deeper truth about modern warfare. Power alone is not enough. Control matters more. Discipline matters more. The ability to endure pressure without reacting can decide outcomes that weapons alone cannot. On that night, 3 destroyers carried enough firepower to erase their attackers, but they never used it. Instead, they held position, followed orders, and trusted restraint over instinct. As the sun rises, higher the ships fade into the horizon, continuing their mission through one of the most volatile waterways on Earth. And somewhere behind them, history quietly records an event the world may never fully see. A war that almost began, and the men who refused to start it